jump on your bike and your treadmill. I said, come walk with me. Yeah! Finger snapping day, y'all. Woo! Yeah, great ride is in. Yeah! Come on, y'all. Get loose. The wonderful, the marvelous, the fantastic Ron Jackson on guitar, honey. And he dipped in my head and saw exactly what music I wanted, honey. Plus, when you walk with me, you can even do. I'm walking, y'all. Hey, let's get ready. Yeah. Oh, you want it. I said I'm walking now. Yeah. Trying to see my feet and great, why is it? Cause if I stop walking now, what's gonna happen? They cut me up until I just the nose. But they'll throw me in jail first because of facial recognition. Oh, these people on this penal colony. Hi, my name is Vicki. I'm coming to you live from the penal colony, aka USA, aka America. Thanks for coming on the walk. Like, comment, share, tell uncle, tell auntie, tell a cousin, tell a friend. Oh, yes, y'all. First, I love my ancestors. I don't know how y'all feel. The ones that have my DNA and the ones that don't. I love them. Because what I heard about, and it happened in May, but I'm just hearing about it, how through facial recognition, they went in and got this pregnant sister and threw her in jail. They said something about her needing diabetic medicine and stuff like that. And they threw her in jail because of facial recognition. Now, we all know everything is programming, but on this penal colony, they still use the matrix. No matter, they never change. They call it a glitch. A glitch. Anyway, I'm surprised they didn't say somebody hacked the system. They used that for quite a few. The system was hacked into. Alright. So, it can't recognize, and I just started laughing at that. I said, didn't I just say on the walk last week that I'm trying to stay close to home because I don't want to be pulled out no car by no patty roller? Y'all remember I told the story about my grandmother and the gun by the door? They went in that girl's house and got her on facial recognition. A program that can't tell one African American woman from the next. So I had to take that back. Them ignorant patty rollers can be kicking down my door saying I look like somebody who did something. Penal colony. And then I got upset. I was like, they never stop. And then the ancestors said, Vicki, please. You sound like the inmate at brick and mortar prison that keeps saying they don't change nothing, they don't change. You're in jail. I'm on a penal colony. And the reason for the penal colony is my ancestors from 600 years ago. What can I tell you? So yeah, they would develop a program that can't tell one African American woman from another. And then they're pulling all the pictures from African American women who have been in jail. And they're comparing them to women, African American women, who are out here on the penal colony. And they're finding them. But they're not that person. They don't, but it's a penal colony. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They do shit like this here. So, now they're throwing us in jail for made up shit that has a glitch. These Hatfield, McCoy, Denver, Republican wardens and their support, they don't change. Overseers, patty rollers, they don't change. They do the same shit all the time, the same way. So now, as always, like my grandmother was faced with it, I'm faced with it. They gonna have to shoot me. They are going to have to shoot me. I already told you, if I was that man in Alabama with that chair, they would have to shoot me. The rage inside of me, I could beat folks with chairs for at least a fucking month. Let me be specific on the folks. Them Hatfield and McCoy hillbilly trash bags think they got something because you got a little platoon. The privileged ones. The privileged ones. I could beat them for a month with that chair. It wouldn't be nothing but half a leg when I finished. Trust me, I felt that brother's rage. He ain't doing enough. Whew. So now we got facial recognition. So now I told y'all, in Alabama, they're going to use facial recognition. And the facial recognition, as I said, from what I heard, it uses images from women who are in jail. So everybody in Alabama, that's why I told y'all should have just circled that guy and protected him. Now the patty roller's going to be coming and kicking in everybody's door because of facial recognition. You're going to have to prove it's not you. I'd rather have them prove it's not your drone with petrol in it, and it's not your drone that's shooting down fire, making sure the petrol light up. I'd rather have them find out who droned them. I said to circle that man and protect him, the security guard, make sure they can't get at him. And then go find out where their businesses is, find out where their farms are, etc., etc., etc. And it's, let them find out, let them work to see who drone did it. Let them work to see, to trace it back to what started the fire. It could be lightning. Hurricane season's coming. But now Alabama, them Hatfield and McCoy patty rollers and overseers is fitting to take care of that artificial intelligent recognition shit and throw a lot of y'all in jail. Remember, y'all second strikers. This is a penal colony because your ancestors were brought here as prisoner of war of the crowns. So you already got one strike. Even though it's 30 generations, 600 years ago, it don't matter for these ignorant white people. It don't matter. It don't matter. They going with the Matrix. All those African people were sitting around starving, making baskets. And it was so good that the white people came and scooped them up and brought them to America and put them to work on plantations. This is the happiest they ever been. Matrix. Okay. So, y'all just get ready. Now, monkey see, monkey do with the Hatfield, McCoy, Demon Republicans and these penal colonies. Monkey see, monkey do. So, monkey finna jump from state to state to state with your facial recognition bullshit. And when they bring that bullshit here to me, okay? Because I know I never did nothing to this goddamn penal colony. And neither did none of my kin. Now, if you want to go back 600 years, yes, possibly. Tore up your ass. It's like Russia keeping Ukrainians when they win, in penal colonies and telling them it's a country and oppressing the people until they realize it's a penal colony and rise up. Just like in the brick and mortar prisons. Can you imagine that? Well, how you there? And you could, the Russians said, well, how long you been over here on this mass land, this penal colony? Oh, 600 years. How'd you get here? Well, we were doing nothing over in Ukraine. We were sitting down minding our business. And then the Russia came over and got us. And we've been over here for 600 years. And someone has to say, no. Russia and Ukraine were at war. And you're the product of a prisoner of war. And you can hear that Ukrainian, probably Russian mix and everything saying, what? You mean they hating on us? Russia's hating on us for 600 years now? And you say, yeah. He said, our ancestors were here as prisoner of war. And the Russian said, yeah. Well, I know my predicament. Like one man's penal colony is another man's asylum. For you privileged asylum seekers, okay, I ain't talking to you. So, yeah. Once they realize, I know I'm off topic, but it shouldn't take so long for the Voting Rights Act. My mother was so happy. I was 9 years old when the Voting Rights Act was passed, and you see all those cult leaders along with politicians signing the Voting Rights Act. That should have been a hit for us. But LBJ signed it and he said it will sunset in 25 years. Sunset? What does that mean? Well, that means that in 25 years, if another executive warden doesn't sign the Voting Rights Act, we can't vote. And the cult leaders, they was just so happy because they was in government. They said, okay, sounds great. Then the Voting Rights Act came up again, but I think this time they only gave it 15 years. Because when it came up again, it was the middle of the 2000s, and I put together a panel to explain to me, and that's when I met the president, I think her name is Sandra Clark, I can't remember the last name, the president of the League of Women Voters of Bronxville, New York. That's when I met her. Because I called in, I said, you got to tell me something. What is this sunrise bullshit? And sunset bullshit? And why is it only towards us, African Americans? What is going on? And that's what I said. Be vigilant, be vigilant. But, Sandra, if you were alive today, I would have said, on this penal colony, yes. So my mother and them was so happy at the bullshit. But there's something that Lyndon B. Johnson said. He said that by giving us the Voting Rights Act, that would ensure that, he used the N-word, would be voting Democrat for the rest of their lives. Let's take a break, y'all. Whew. Spotify. Yeah. I'm walking, y'all, trying to save my feet and toes. Come walk with me. You hear, Ron? Yeah. I said, come walk with me. Save your toes and feet. Cause when you walk with me. Whoa! Yeah! I'm walking, y'all. Yeah! I said I'm walking now. Yeah! Trying to save my feet. Cause if I stop walking now, yeah, they'll cut me up until I'm just a nose. Oh, yeah! The great, the wonderful, the marvelous, the fantastic Mr. Ron Jackson. And yours truly. So, LBC. And I really didn't understand that term. Over the years, African American activists have brought it up. But they didn't do the connection. They didn't connect it up. They brought it up, but they didn't connect it. So, it's the middle of the 2000s, and I was in Westchester County, and the Westchester, I was in, listen, them folks, I wouldn't say they're ignorant. I would say they're brain blind. They're brain blind. They're not ignorant. Ignorant is a step up for them. Those folks in Westchester County, brain blind. Okay? They don't know nothing. They don't see nothing but money. They know that they hate African Americans. They don't know why. They have no clue. But they do. And it's all about the money, the prestige, keeping up with the Joneses. Mount Vernon, on the other hand, for me and the people, it was wonderful. But of course, This is a penal colony. So it was one of the spots that was picked as a breeding ground for brick and mortar prisons. You know, they drop guns, they drop drugs, they let gangs go on. And I can say that because I did everything besides going to what I thought at that time was president. But now it all comes together. It was a breeding ground. So everything that's supposed to happen there, all the killing, all the shooting, it's okay. Those who don't go to jail, they die, but then you get organs. And African Americans never think in those terms. And these young, as they call them young bucks, they don't think in them terms. A dying old white man getting a good liver from a 19-year-old that cop just popped in the head. Come on now. Patty roller just popped in the head. Come on now. We was told not to put the organ donor on our driver's license because if you get in an accident, they will either let you die or kill you to get your organs. Now, you think I'm lying? Just a few years back when I was in my 30s, they used to be begging people to donate their organs. Begging people. They don't beg no more. You drop a few guns in the hood, you gonna come out with eyes, teeth, heart, lungs, kidneys, spleens, bone marrow. They haven't begged for it. No, they just stopped begging because the supply is met. And I noticed that right away. And I was like, okay. And then I saw how the supply. But now that I know it's a penal colony, I can understand it. It's not knowing that's the confusing. So let's get back to Johnson. So I didn't understand that. And the African American activists, they really didn't explain it well. Because they didn't take it all the way back, because it's really hard to believe that you're being hated and killed for what your ancestors did 600 years ago when they were warring with Europe, and Europe put them as prisoners of war in this penal colony. Then did the Matrix and called the penal colony a nation. It's like calling, let's see, it's like calling a jail the Ritz Hotel. It's a jail, and it's a penal colony. So, that's what he meant. They would have them, literally, what I've learned, vote against ourselves. As long as Democrats are the oldest party, they're the ones, and the few others, that started the lie that they ran the Brits out. This penal colony is a strong arm of the crown of Europe, specifically Britain. These folks here are wardens. And I understood what he said, what LBJ was saying. We're going to give them the right to vote so they can vote for who fucks them up every 4 years. And that's why he laughed. And I would hear the African American activists telling the story, but they never took it to that part. You're voting against yourself because this is a penal colony. And what you're voting is are wardens to govern you. Not the white people, that's the privileged part. Us. So of course the facial recognition does not recognize African Americans and don't recognize African American women at all. Are you shocked? Who's prosecuting that orange shit stain? Warden. African American women. Alicia James, that other African American woman in Georgia. And now there's a facial recognition that will allow the patty rollers to come into our house. And yes, I told y'all, red count. And you say, no, Vicki, they can't. Yes, they can. This is the penal colony. And my ancestors were prisoners of war who were imprisoned on this penal colony. And every child they had afterwards was kept enslaved. Let's go to the brick and mortar prisons. If the brick and mortar prisons where you could have children that stayed when you raised, the imprisoned criminal would be, I'll use a woman, the mother that's carrying the child. Once the child is born and he is kept in that brick and mortar prison with the mother, he is enslaved. And then of course they put him to work because it's free labor. Let's come outside the brick and mortar prison and come to this penal colony. Same thing. I broke no laws. I did nothing. My mother, my father, my grandfather, we don't have going through our family on my mother's side. We don't have, other than that Rockefeller thing, the setup, the Reagan Ollie North setup. We don't have it. But yet, I am labeled an inmate criminal because I was born to the descendant of the original reason for this penal colony. I'm amazed for any award these ignorant Hatfield I am. These ignorant white people, I am surprised any awards they get. I'm shocked. Because they just hate to hate. Oh, sit down the table. Oh, son, when you go to school today, don't forget to hate the black people. Oh, yes, Daddy. I can tell you, we never spoke about hating you. My mother never said a word bad against you. My grandmother, they never sat around and talked about white people. They cautioned us. Stay away from them. Don't fool up with them. They'll get you in trouble. They'll get you thrown in jail. That's how they describe it. If you're with them, you're going to get in trouble and you're going to jail. But they was right. Because they was throwing us in jail. They weren't racist. That was fact. So, in 25 years, and I think the next executive warden gave us 15 years. And that's why the Voting Rights Act, sunrise in the mid-2000s. And that's when I had my panel to find out why. And why just us? Yeah, my leg is going on again. I'm sorry, y'all. We ain't doing no weights. I'm working on my leg. I'll be better tomorrow. I'll put a pain patch on it. And so I said, why is it just us? I didn't put the penal colony together. Now I'm so embarrassed. It was like, and the ancestors kept saying, Vicki, you know why? I kept saying, no, why? They just hate us. We ain't working for free. I was like, no, you did the research. I couldn't believe it. So I shoved it somewhere. It's hard to believe that I'm being hated for something, not that my ancestors did to this penal colony, but to the crown of England or Spain, because they all, or France, they all had their penal colonies here. They all had their penal colonies here. And that's where the hate from us comes. Not from nothing we did. Nothing. We're not slower than anyone. Highly intelligent. That's another fear. It's just, once you see this penal colony, you see how it all works out. So, anytime they want to, they can stop it. Now, I'm going to tell you an example of, if you ever ask, oh, what does that sunrise and the voting rights thing do? I'm going to give you an example. When the Crowns put that shit stain, and I say, oh, Russia, Russia, Russia. When the Crown put that shit stain warden in, the executive warden, orange shit stain, whew, love that man. He knew how to win him and his Tea Party lying bullshit. How can you kick? Okay, that's another matrix. Anyway, he allowed vigilantes to go to the voting booths with their ARK rifles or AK rifles. And I was like, I went back fast. My mind just back to the 60s. And I was like, that's what they did to them in the 60s. They was killing them, turning the water hose on them, dogs, everything on them. To stop them from voting. And here it is in the 2000s, a whole fucking new millennial. Millennial. And that warden, orange shit stained warden, literally revoked the Voting Rights Act. So that's why. You remember those people in Michigan? We're going to go straight right into the gulp and check. If you're getting out, thanks for coming on the walk. See you tomorrow. So, that's why all those white people came down out them hills with them guns trained on us to try to stop us from voting. Because the executive warden did not initiate the Voting Rights Act to protect our right to vote. Now, why do they have to protect our right to vote? Because 600 years ago, 30 generations, our ancestors were brought here as prisoners of war of the crowns of Europe. So we're labeled born blood inmate criminals with one strike. So that's why they were able to come down to the voting polls, the white people, with their 45s in their pockets, their long-range rifles on their back, walking around the voting ring, trying to intimidate us, or if need be, start shooting. So I said, oh, that's what the Voting Rights Act stops? It stopped white people from killing us when we try to vote, and if it's not activated when it sunsets, if it's not brought back, then white people are free to go to the voting polls and shoot us for voting. I was like, holy shit. It took on a whole different meaning. I was like, they wasn't at the white people voting place with their guns. They was where the majority of us was voting. And I said, holy shit. That's what the Voting Rights Act does. It stops, if the voting right thing was enacted and they were walking around the pole with guns and stuff, somebody could pick up and call police and say, there's men out here walking around with guns, can you come get them? But they didn't do that because it wasn't enacted, which would mean it gave every white person with a gun the right to shoot you while you stand in line waiting to vote. So I was like, what? Just because y'all said that we was brought over here enslaved and picking cotton and stuff? What all this? Child. Lies, they tell. Okay? So, now, let's look at who we're voting for. I've been voting since I was 19. Everything, it was all smoke and mirrors. Obviously, all smoke and mirrors. Voting Rights Act, smoke and mirrors, affirmative action, smoke and mirrors, all this matrix stuff. That's what they fed to the cult leader Martin Luther King and all the other cult leaders. They fed them bullshit. Being cult leaders, they fed them bullshit, gave the cult leaders a few dollars, blah, 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 wah, 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 wee, and here we are. But I have seen with my own two eyes, and like I told you, I have voted since I was 19, that every one of those smoke and mirror promises disintegrated. I tell you, affirmative action really never benefited us. It benefited white women, Asian, blah, 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 blah. Oh, anyway. Ooh, wait a minute, y'all. When the water goes down, it goes up. So, if the executive warden does not sign the Voting Rights Act to activate it, then that means those yahoos can come down and stop us voting. But I gotta tell you, I'm stopping myself. Because like I said, I've been voting since 19, and every one of those smokescreen promises that they give is gone. And I was told that if I vote, they would remain. Fair housing, equal housing, blah, 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 blah. But as you said, why should it have to be all this fair stuff for African Americans? Why? This is a penal colony. The reason for the penal colony is our ancestors. Africa wasn't that far and still isn't that far from Europe. They used to take their boats, yes, Don't worry about what these lying ass bitches on this penal colony says. They would take their boats, go over, and civilize Europe. And that's also something they don't want to tell you. Anyway, for a lot of years, hundreds, our ancestors ruled Europe. Go to Europe and go and look at their history. In England, they may be lying, so you got to dig deeper. But in Spain, Portugal, France, Germany. And you say, why Germany? Who do you think invaded Germany? Ethiopians. That's how Hebrew got there. Ha! Germany. They all got mad. And got together. They was warring. Our ancestors started being on the losing side. And they realized that what they had to do was to take the prisoners of war as far away from Africa as possible. That's how we wound up here on this landmass. That's how Portugal sent their African prisoner of wars to Brazil, Venezuela, Spain, Dominican Republic, Spain, Puerto Rico, Spain. Penal colonies for the Africans who were over there ruling. They kicked out. So then they put it together. They said, listen, wait a minute here now. The supply is coming in from Africa. So when we get rid of the ruling class, Africans ruling class, when we get rid of them by making them prisoners of war, finding out, sending them far away, we still have Africa, which is just like right across the sea. And then they said, go into Africa and get them before they come out and get Europe. And that's what they did. And the Africans fought valiantly. So, though this penal colony said they got rid of the crown, this penal colony, as a independent penal colony, kick the crown out, just going on 300 years. But y'all been hating us longer. Because we were the reason. The existence. It's a penal colony. And you tried to, Nancy Grace said, perfume or pig? Calling it the United States? Perfume on a pig. America, penal colony of Europe, the crown. Perfect title. America, North America, penal colony of the crown of Britain, of England. So that's why the Voting Rights Act is sundown. Because then you saw it. You know I'm not lying. Go back and get the footage. I saw them come out in Michigan. They came out of the mountains in their cars with their flags, with their guns. Because I remember thinking, I wish I was there. While y'all was down there with your guns, I'd be up there burning down your crops, your houses, your farms, when you'd have to run back. And I'd watch you try to put them flames out with them AKR rifles. I remember thinking that. But that's why they could do that, so if you're wondering. Now, Warden Biden, the executive Warden Biden, now he may invoke the Voting Rights Act to stop the hillbillies, Duggars, Hatfield boys from coming down to the voting thing and showing their guns. Me, yep, I'm going to take old Petrola and Sparky, my imaginary drones. I don't even know anything other than my mind. I control my drones with my mind. Other than that, I don't have no drones. But Petrola and Sparky, when they leave them farms to come with their guns to show, oh, y'all ain't voting, when they get back, they gonna have cooked vegetables. Still on mine. Tomato sauce you can scrape off the ground. Y'all better plant the tomato sauce and the broccoli together so when they burn, they merge. Woo! The greatest spaghetti sauce ever. So that's why LBJ said gave us the Voting Rights Act, and why he laughed, because he knew that we were just voting for our own persecutors, because they're all wardens. This is a penal colony. Some wardens are nice. My daughter made me look at all those prison things. Made me look at them. And some of the wardens were nice. And they did programs. That would be Warden Obama. He was nice. He was a nice warden. But the executive warden that replaced him wasn't nice. The legislative wardens. Sometimes there's a crop that's going to work in your favor, and sometimes there's a crop of wardens, legislative wardens, that ain't going to work in your favor. This is a penal colony. The whole premise is to keep us in place. Why? Because 600 years ago, our ancestors was over in Europe. They had already been ruling over there. As I said, go to Europe, get your shit. Oh, I went around this year. Oh, that's white people. Oh, I came from Spain to go to Europe. But if you go to Europe, why you ain't looking at the truth? I always noticed when they came back, they wasn't different. If they really went to Europe and saw all the ice and stuff, then you'd have came back, gave me a kiss and hug, and kicked anybody's ass that touched anybody that's this color skin. Because you know the truth. But when you go over to England and Spain and you come back as ignorant as when you left, then I know you didn't go. You didn't see all those historical sites. Because if you did, you'd have seen us in the historical sites of Europe. Portuguese, Spain, Portuguese, Spain, Germany, Brits, France. This would be there. And you'd have come back, seeing that this is a penal colony, felt disgusted, and showed a little bit more respect. But you didn't do that. You came back and did facial recognition. Well, you gonna go around arresting black women? I'm laughing because you can't get mad. It is a penal colony. I know we only got one wall, which is in the south part, bottom part of the state. That's one wall. Now all we got to do is put in another wall the north on the border of Canada, and the world will be protected from us. We'll be walled in. And then the world can get along a lot better. It will be totally walled in. But my daughter did say something that made my heart swell. She said, "Don't worry, Mommy," because her father's from Ghana. She said, "We're going to be in Ghana." She said, "Don't worry. We don't got to stay here." And I was so relieved. I was like, because seemed like every night I got to send my imaginary drone patroller and Sparky up. I'm trying to find a way to make Sparky like a blowtorch. So when patroller goes up, sprinkles all her petrol around, then instead of just sparking Sparky comes and we have like blowtorch. And then he whoosh, and then with all day cooked vegetables, cooked potatoes in the ground, cooked cabbage, cooked corn. Thousands of acres in all those lands that only the Hatfield and McCoy, the Republicans and shit and their supporters own. Which is, what do they say? They own 80% of the farms on this penal colony? You know I can go up and burn shit down every night with my imaginary drones, and I do. I have to find out to get more petrol in Petrola. Because when I'm laying there in my imaginary mind, I go and I send Petrola out, and she sprinkles a bit. She runs out. Because even in my mind I have this kind of rounds, she runs out. So then she got to come back and fill out while I take her to the side and I fill it back. I should make her, since it's my imaginary, I can make it where she just fills and fills and fills and fills. That's it. Petrola never runs out of petrol. It just sprinkles all those vegetables, those thousands of acres. Ooh, the Jolly Green Giant be screaming. They cooking my beans on the stove. So, that's what it is. And I don't want to vote for the wardens anymore. That's why after all these years, I said to myself, all these years, and I'm fitting to do a body, separation of matter and energy. I'm fitting to do a separation of matter and energy. And all these years, I ain't vote for one warden that really haven't done anything for us. But they're wardens. We haven't been to jail. Look at those jail shows, y'all. Some wardens are nice. Look at the Supreme Court wardens. They're just there to make sure the penal colony, penal laws are activated, put in place for the descendants of the original prisoner of wars of this penal colony, our ancestors. So they're never going to be on our side. Let me put it like that. The Supreme Court wardens, I don't care how many Africans, Americans you put in there, I don't care. You can even turn around and put in Japanese, you can put it doesn't matter. They have to follow the code and the rules and the laws on the books of this penal colony. That's why at any moment, y'all messing around, laughing and joking, talking about the boat. But there are laws on that book at any moment. We could be restricted from so much shit. And those Supreme Court wardens, they make sure those old laws stand. Stand. What y'all better be ready to do? Ashes. Ashes. Ashes, ashes. We all fall down. That's what we need to be ready to do. We need to start getting ready now. Not in our communities. That don't do nothing. That's just like those Iraqi people blowing up the World Trade Center. That didn't do nothing. That was another matrix. If they had hit those crops in the South and in the Midwest, go for the food supply. Go for the Jolly Green Giant. Go for Birdseye. Go for Dole. Go for Sunkiss. Go for all wine vineyards. Boil the wine on, boil the grapes on the vine, make dirt wine. But I know y'all too well trained. Don't get that YouTube internet people. Trust me, African Americans, that boat thing you saw jumping around, trust me, that'll be all died down in the next 3 or 4 days. But me, I'ma still be sending up my imaginary drones. So, now that I understand that we're just a pawn, the Democrats, the oldest political party, gave us the voting rights as a political pawn against the other political parties. And they're the ones, the Democrats, that oppress us and destroy us most because they're the oldest. Everybody else chimes in. The Republicans, just as disgraceful because they're just as ignorant. And they pulled in all the cults. So that's what makes them so dangerous, because they think that what they're doing is their God sent. God only send white man messages. Y'all know that, right? Anyway, so anybody we vote for, we're just choosing sides in the Hatfield and McCoy feud. We get nothing from it. Hatfields, vote Hatfields, ain't gonna get nothing. Vote McCoy, you ain't gonna get nothing. Vote Douglas, you gonna get shit on with all them children. But they're wardens. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're wardens. So they're not going to do anything for us. They're not going to do it because their whole point is to govern the penal colony. And why? Because our ancestors were there from the war 600 years ago for fighting as prisoners of war, because they not only ruled Europe, they built it, they fought Europe, they won a lot of years, and then they lost. And then Europe said, send them away from Africa. And they sent us far away from Africa. And I might not have long to live. My greatest fear is to be in the process of my matter and energy separating, and I have to look in the face of them white people. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'd rather go in the woods, ball up in a ball, and just die. I can't do that. I just can't do it. That's not a peaceful death for me. Or, separation. It's not a good separation for me. because I know seeing them when my energy leave, they're going to slice my body up. They're going to treat my body like shit. They may throw it on the ground and jump up and down on it. I don't want them anywhere near me when I go through the process of matter and energy separation. I don't even want to be on the block where white people live. That's how I feel. So, that's voting rights act. Some executive wardens will protect you when you go to play in their games, and some executive wardens won't. I don't want to play the games no more. I got my eye on Ghana. Like, comment, share. Tell uncle, tell auntie, tell a cousin, tell a friend. Subscribe. Don't worry, we'll be back to a half hour as soon as we finish our water thing. And we finish that up in September, I believe. And then we'll be back to a half hour. But I may take time off for Labor Day, which means, I add that time back on to our walk. So, like, comment, share, tell uncle, tell auntie, tell a cousin. I don't know why I get off the treadmill to talk to you, but can't I just lean over? Ain't this better? Like, comment, share. Tell uncle, tell auntie, tell a cousin, tell a friend, subscribe. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I think I stepped down because I got to step down and turn it off. Love ya, and I hope you love me.